even hire a realtor. Homes are basically selling themselves in this market. You might have a point. Let's chat about that on this week's VP Pulse. Okay, so you are ready to sell your home and you're gonna do it yourself. So what are the steps involved? With any home, you're gonna need to prepare your home, make sure it is presented in the best light possible, take some good photos, make sure you are getting as much exposure as possible for the home, so online presence needs to be big, and once you've done all of that, make sure you are ready to accommodate every showing, every question. Your phone and email is going to be off the hook. And once you've found a prospective buyer who's willing to pay you what you believe is market value for that home, negotiate the best terms possible. Pretty doable, right? And I have no doubt that you can do this. I might just want to highlight a few concerns that I have because you're not dabbling in this day in and day out. One of the number one reasons why sellers choose to sell their own homes is pretty obvious. It's to save on commission dollars. However, it might cost you more than savings simply because of these three main reasons. So number one, so you've managed to put your home up on the market, it's getting exposure, especially in a market like we have today. It is going to continue to gain a lot of momentum because we just don't have enough units on the market. So what you're going to find is you're going to get questions not only from agents, but also there might be the odd buyer out there that's not working with an agent that's going to contact you. You then have to make sure you set up your home. For each showing, you will need to be present because do you really want a bunch of strangers walking through your home when you haven't qualified them? How are you going to keep your home secure to make sure those coming in and out of your home are in fact qualified buyers? And you are going to want to make sure you get as many showings in as possible because what if the one showing that you missed is that one buyer that was willing to pay top dollar for your home? Right? So you just need to make sure that you are involved and present with every step of this selling process. And it can be a little tough to manage if you work full time. It can be tough to manage even when you don't dabble in this day in and day out. Right? So keeping your home secure, making sure you have qualified people coming through your home, and making sure you are available for those showings is number one. Another important aspect when it comes to selling your home on your own is do not give away too much information. Okay, so for example, last year I did happen to show a home that was for sale by owner, and what tends to happen in conversation with the seller on behalf of my buyer, sellers, sometimes you give away too much information. Right? And you do it naturally because you don't know what points that you're bringing up could be used as leverage by the buyers to either negotiate a better closing, negotiate a better price, and negotiate better terms. I am not talking about defects when it comes to the home, water damage, etc. I am specifically talking about things like, oh yeah, we did have an offer and XYZ was the amount. Right? And you giving away that kind of information, a prospective buyer and their agent can then find a way to work with that offer and say you got a lowball offer. And because you're not aware of what's going on in and around your market, you don't know if that's a good enough offer. Which brings me to point number three. As real estate agents, we are in and out of homes on a daily basis. We know what's on the market, why a certain home in your neighborhood commanded the price that it did, why a certain home sat on the market longer than it needed to, because we've got the knowledge. We've got a boots on the ground perspective of why these units are moving while some stay stagnant, and that is not an easy thing to replicate if this is your first and only sale that you're looking to do. Many sellers believe that their home is the best home on the market. And you know what? A lot of the times you have the most beautiful homes. But sometimes you're not on par with what your home really commands in this market. Just because your neighbor sold for XYZ does not mean you're going to sell for the same amount. You might even overlook a luxury feature of your home that could potentially attract a certain kind of buyer who's willing to pay top dollar just for that feature, right? So these are some of the nuances, some of the detail-oriented work that you're gonna need to do simply to prepare your home, and that's the easy part. One of the biggest and most toughest parts when it comes to selling your home is the negotiation, is the offer process. Selling a home and negotiating is not for everyone. It can be quite intimidating. And making sure that you are in fact prepared to take on that challenge is something you really need to ask yourself. So here are some words I never thought I'd be saying. Let's do some math. So for example's sake, I'm going to talk about an instance last year when I happened to show a property that was being sold by the seller. No agent involved, okay? So this seller happened to disclose to me that they did in fact receive an offer for $1,170,000. The most recent comp in the couple streets around the seller was $1,350,000. So why did they get a lowball offer? The scary part is the seller thought that that was a fair offer. Right, so that's $180,000 difference between $1,350,000 to $1,170,000. And that seller was just disclosed that information to me, right? Which means I am then going to use that as leverage. Had my buyers in fact liked that home, I could easily use that as leverage. But let me break this math down a little bit more, because that's $180,000 difference between those two amounts, sure. And then you're gonna say, of course, then there's closing costs involved. And of course, there's closing costs. There is costs to deal in real estate any way you slice it. As a seller, yeah, usually you have commission that you're paying out, so that would have been 5%. Okay, so 5% on a $1,350,000 is $67,500. Okay, so what usually happens is that commission, the 5%, is generally split between the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. So to the seller's agent would have got $33,750. So $180,000 difference, and fine. For argument's sake, let's leave it at 5% that the seller would have to pay out. This seller is in fact still paying out 2.5% to the buyer's agent. Let's do some more math. $180,000 less $67,000 $500 is $112,000 $500. That is the amount that this seller was willing to leave on the table simply to save $33,000. I paused there for dramatic effect. And yeah, this may sound, oh, it's a really palatable way about talking commissions and selling your home by yourself. If this is in fact one of your biggest assets in life, you are going to want to gather up as much as you can for that. You had the forethought to invest in real estate. Now let it do what it's supposed to do for you. Sit back and take in that appreciation. While I have no doubt you will do what's best for you and in fact be able to garner a profit, are you leaving money on the table is a question you need to ask yourself when it comes to selling your home on your own. And remember, the commission you're paying your agent for is not simply to put a sign on your property and put it up on the MLS. Your agent should prepare your home, make sure it's presented in the best light possible. So that includes giving you tips, giving you direction, giving you manpower, giving you amazing vendors who can help you prepare your home. And then they have to make sure that they give it as much exposure as possible. I mean online, I mean print, I mean multiple websites, social networks, agent-to-agent networks. It needs to be seen. The more eyes on your property, the better chance you have of garnering multiple offers and getting the right buyer that sees the value you see in your home. So once you've done all of that, the agent is also responsible to negotiate the best terms for this offer. And Another important aspect is that the agent has to make sure that they justify the price. Okay, having a conversation with multiple prospective buyers and agents on their behalf about why your home commands the price that it does is an important part of this negotiation process. So make sure you pick someone that's going to. And lastly, the closing process, it can be tough to navigate. Making sure all of the financials are in place, making sure that deadlines have been met, whether it comes to title search, whether it comes to appraisals, whether it comes to inspections. These are all huge stressors when it comes to the sale of a property and making sure it's a smooth close. So, do your best, do your research. If you've got questions about selling on your own, reach out. I have a checklist if you need it. However, ask yourself if this is the best you can do with the asset that you have. All right, take care. I'll see you again next week with yet another BP Pulse.